The Trump administration enacted its migrant protection protocols early last year and gradually expanded it to 7 ports of entry. As a result, more than 56,000 migrants have been returned to Mexico while they wait for their court dates, including about 160 migrants sent to Nogales, Sonora since the start of 2020. Rafael Carranza has reported on the program for the Arizona Republic. 160 people in Nogales, Sonora. What's the impact to that community?
So it's 160 in the first month, just to be clear. And like I said, the program has been around for a month, but the expectation is that that number is going to grow. And so a lot of the the nonprofits that help migrants in Nogales, Sonora, are concerned about what the future looks like, because there are already thousands of migrants waiting to claim asylum in the United States. So they're waiting, up to 3 months already in the shelters, which are already, filled to capacity. And then on top of that, you also have the Mexican deportees, who they're still these deportations are still taking place on a daily basis. So you have these three populations that are kind of mixing, not just in Nogales, but in all of the Mexican border cities, but certainly in a place like Nogales that doesn't have the infrastructure. There's a lot of concern over what that's going to look like once we have larger numbers of people sent back who are going to be waiting there for many more months as well.
Then they get a court date, but the time that elapses between could be 3 and 6 months. What are they doing while they wait before their time to see a judge?
And the Mexican government gives them a permit, but that permit is valid basically only until their court date. So if someone is sent back today and they have a court date for the end of April, the permit is going to be valid up until that point. And that permit, they can use it to find work. They can use it, if they have children, to send them to school. But there's still, a lot of uncertainty over that, because, for example, if you are a mother with a child who is being sent back to Mexico, who are you going to leave that child with if you're going to go find work? So there's, just a lot of times many of these individuals have never been to Nogales before, or they're not familiar, they don't have that network there. And so even finding a job could be a challenge, because they don't have, the child care, or they don't have anywhere to live. They might not have the money to be able to rent out a place during that time. And so that just adds to the difficulties, not just for the migrants, but also for the city and for the nonprofits that help the migrants.
And these are people who entered the U.S. unlawfully or requested asylum at a port of entry, correct?
Yes, I mean, I think the belief towards the very beginning was that this was being applied, that MPP was only being applied to those who cross the border illegally. But we've seen, and certainly especially here in Nogales, is that it doesn't matter if you cross the border illegally or if you waited for 3 months to be able to talk to an immigration officer at the Nogales port of entry. They're being sent back regardless. The Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection says they have a criteria, that they have to be eligible to be able to send back. But that still means that there's dozens of people. They can send up to 30 per day back to Nogales.
What happens when that court date comes? Where do they go, and what's the expectation after that?
That is probably one of the biggest challenges, and it's an unanswered question so far, because since it has only been a month, the next dates, or the first court hearings that we have, are going to be coming up in the next few weeks. But the interesting thing about that is that the asylees that get sent back, they're not presenting themselves in Nogales. They have to travel to Ciudad Juarez, because their court hearing is in El Paso. And so this is, almost 300 miles away. You have to go through some, frankly, very dangerous territory, especially in the mountainous areas between Sonora and Chihuahua, which is where we've had a lot of episodes of violence. I think the most prominent one is the death of 9 dual U.S. and Mexico citizens. And so, they have to get through that. The most accessible way to get there is probably by bus, but it's expensive. It could be very expensive if you don't have the money. And then once you get to El Paso, where do you go? To Juarez, I should say. Where do you go? Do you go to one of the shelters? Where are you going to stay? And then so it's just a lot of challenges that they'll have to navigate, and oftentimes without any help.
The Department of Homeland Security says that 9 out of 10 asylum cases will be denied. Are you hearing from people who say, I'm not even going to bother, I might as well just go to my home country?
We've certainly been hearing a lot of that, and I think that a lot of the shelters that I've been speaking to, the directors, they're also very frank about, having those types of conversations with someone who shows up wanting to claim asylum. They'll be able to talk to them. They'll have attorneys coming from, the United States, from Arizona, a lot of different groups that, volunteer and go down there and offer them legal advice. And, oftentimes it may not, they may not qualify for asylum. And so at that point, they'll have to decide if it's worth for them to pursue that, or if, they want to remain in Nogales and kind of assimilate there, or, head elsewhere in Mexico where they feel they'll be safer. But that's a conversation that, we've seen or we've heard about happening, very, very often.
I know it's very preliminary with this policy, but have any legal challenges been filed?
Yes, there's actually a legal challenge before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And so this is that, they're taking their time. The decision hasn't come down yet. And so once it does, we anticipate that it's going to have, wide repercussions if it's allowed to stay in place or if there's an injunction blocking the program. But as of now, the courts have not stepped in, so the program has been allowed to continue.
Okay. Rafael, thank you.